Although we have left the village behind, we haven't left the name of Marton. This is Marton Pool, a 5-mile stretch of lock-free water high in the Pennines. Marton Pool is a prime example of the contour canal, the early system of canal building which avoided expense by hugging the contours of the hills. We may be within shouting distance of the boat that's ahead of us, across the fields, but it will take us up to 20 minutes to curve round to the point where they now are. To the first people who lived and worked on the canals, the length of the route and the time it took was inconsequential. It didn't matter to them then, and it doesn't matter now. It is easier to fill a hollow than it is to excavate a hill. Out of that simple principle of contouring came the Priestholme Aqueduct across the River Aire, our first encounter with the river which will grow beside us as we roll along deep into the Aire Valley, and nature close beside. This canal is one of the few British waterways which still boasts its movable bridges. There are few, if any, of the original swivel bridges in existence. The early ones were built of wood, not steel, but the principle remains the same.
Cheers, that's fine.
Originally, the movable bridges on the canal carried farm tracks, minor roads. It follows that when you find a swivel, you know you're close to the works of man. You tend to forget that the route you travel is also a man-made artifact, once the motorway of its day. The aim of the waterway was simple. It was built to make a road of water from one town to another. Today that water has become commercially obsolete as our needs have changed. Now we want our metalled roads to travel not through towns, but round them. But as we pass, we doff our hats to the achievement of our 18th century forefathers. We dress a concrete wall with stone below the curve of the Skipton bypass, which roars our traffic round the town. The concept of building a bypass around a town would never have occurred to the canal planners. They wanted their water right at the center, where there was trade and commerce and where there were people. Because the canal was built to service industrial premises, the main use of canal-side buildings and land has always been industrial. The 18th century navigators, the navvies who actually dug the Leeds and Liverpool Canal, had one prime aim: to get their waterway straight to the heart of whatever town they were passing through. Here, in Skipton, they cut the town in half. When the canal arrived in 1773, 2 boatloads of coal were sold for half the normal price. The bells were set ringing in Skipton, reported a newspaper of the day. It meant you could travel from Skipton to Leeds by water, far better than the stagecoach. But no passengers ever came this way, up the half-mile diversion that opened 1 year later, up to the springs behind Lord Thanet's castle. The cut is still called the Springs Branch. When they dug the cut to the castle, it was the age of Sam Johnson and Napoleon. Leeds Mill reminds us how things were. Inside, the water from Ellerbeck still drives the wheel, and the wheel still grinds the grain of Yorkshire into flour. When the canal company built the Springs Branch, they sacrificed the castle moat. To navigate the half-mile stretch in summer's heat is like navigating jungle. A boat up here is a rare surprise. Lord Thanet, a major subscriber to the Leeds and Liverpool Canal Company, was still a miner when they built the Springs Branch. His agents knew their business well. They wanted the water behind the castle where the limestone quarries were. Under the towering castle walls, the derelict loading chute is the last remnant of an industry that lasted for over 2 centuries. That chute is recent history. Originally, the stone was dropped straight to the boats from the castle staiths 100 feet above the water. Désormais, henceforth, reads the motto on the wall. After a 3-year siege during the Civil War, Oliver Cromwell allowed the restoration of the Norman castle, but insisted on decastellation. Many's the time I've called in here, but it wasn't until recently that I learned of the hotel's significance. It was here in 1770 that they held one of the first public meetings of the Leeds and Liverpool Canal Company. Skipton still retains its importance as the market town the name refers to. The Anglo-Saxon skip means sheep. Skipton, sheep town. The name is apt. Every time I travel out of town, I always seem to run up behind some convoy carrying sheep, through sheep, from a market to a market. No such hold-up on the water. When they built the cut, they built through open country. Now it has become crowded into submission behind houses, cinemas, factories. The view is different from the canal. New angles on things you thought you knew. On the road, we could be bumper to bumper in the enforced company of people leaving or arriving. On the canal, we can choose the company we keep. On this leg of our voyage between two seas, we have boxed the compass on our meandering journey over the roof of England. Now we keep the bows due east as we follow the path of the Aire Valley, deep into the Yorkshire heartland.